fire away whenever James gives you the go ahead.
Cool. Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. We're here to preview Ireland's upcoming match against Bulgaria tomorrow night, away in Bulgaria. Lads, how are we feeling coming into this?
Let you go first.
I think it's a game that we should be winning comfortably. There in all sorts of chaos between their manager and then, one of the teams in their league had a fake death or whatever it was. It's a minute silence for someone who wasn't even dead. So there's a lot of chaos surrounding them. We should be on our game. We don't have any real drama coming into this. Looking at our squad, I suppose we have players that are playing in good form for the first time in I'd say a while. Robbie Brady's back performing. Jacob Ryan's performing for Everton. Troy Parrott's playing in the knockout. Well, was playing in the knockout rounds of the Europa League. He's playing every game for AZ Alkmaar. Finn Azaz is in good form as well. Jason Knight's been adding goals to his game at Bristol City. He's obviously the captain there as well. So looking around the team, Gavin Bazunu's back playing. The Kelleher isn't. So it's more positives than negatives coming into this one for me.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. Everything Paul said, right? There's so many players in form. There's a couple players that you're kind of excited to see where they're going to play with Jacob O'Brien, possibly playing at right back. We've strikers on form. Like for the first time in ages, we've options in the striker department, like for more than just one player. I don't even know who's going to play there. So yeah, I'm buzzing. I really am.
And we were chatting about this. It's great to have players coming into form, going into an international window. Obviously the squad was announced last week. I think I was out at Abbottstown to hear Hamer kind of his press conference after the squad was announced. A couple of interesting selections, but all in all, I'd say a pretty solid squad. Your thoughts on the squad coming into it?
Well, I've kind of went into it just there briefly. Look, again, another one is performing well is Mark Sykes at Bristol City as well. And we don't have, you said it on the Irish Abroad, Thomas, that we didn't have too many options in the wide positions, but obviously two of those, he's out injured. We've got Mikey Johnson, but then you kind of look after that. There's not too many out and out wingers that you would think of, that would definitely be on the kind of radar to come in there and do well. So I think Mark Sykes probably will start. I would have him to start, and I think it'd be a natural fit if he starts on that right hand side. Around the rest of the team, well, I have a starting 11 show, and you'll be able to check that out later on. I'm not going to give it away now, but I'm optimistic coming into this game. I mean, it's a relegation playoff. It's 2 legs. We get one result there, and then we bring that home when we win in the Aviva. That's how I foresee it. I can't see any banana skins here. I'd be very, very disappointed, and I can't imagine Hamer will be. He'll be hoping for everything against that, like in terms of he won't want a banana skin going into World Cup qualifiers or anything like that. In the autumn. So, this would be a chance for some players to prove that they are good enough to be starting for Ireland. Maybe someone like Troy, who he hasn't really seemed to given any real game time to. He's brought him off the bench a few times. John O'Shea didn't really seem to fancy him either. He scored the winner against Hungary. John O'Shea hadn't played him. Hamer hadn't played him. They've always opted for Evan Ferguson. It's a good chance for Evan Ferguson to maybe play himself into a bit of form or fitness at club level as well. He said he looked sharp, John O'Shea, yesterday or 2 days ago. Sorry. It will actually be interesting to see as well. Could Rocco Vata or James the Banquet come in? We obviously were out there, or with Jimmy Dunn the other day as well. So there's a couple of players there you probably forget. Maybe a Banquet could come in, could be an option there if he's impressed in training, because he's doing quite well at centre half. But I think Collins and O'Shea at centre half are kind of nailed down at this stage. Yeah. They've been very we've depended on them a lot, and they've done quite well. And they haven't really ever. I know Collins has done a few back passes here and there, but he's made up for it in other cases, I feel.
Yeah. So honestly,
I've rambled a bit there, so don't leave Steve.
No, look, I echo all that. The only thing I'm disappointed in regards to this selection is no John Patrick Finn. I was so excited to see if he was going to travel with the squad. He's not. So disappointed in that sense. Disappointed not to see Callum Robinson travel with the squad, but there's a lot to look forward to. And I'm also excited to see, is he going to play Ferguson? Is he going to give Ferguson that chance to get back on form? Or is he going to play Parrott? Is he going to play Ida? 2 players on great form. I mean,
I don't think Ida is in as good as form as we've made out. Like recently, he hasn't been playing as much, and he hasn't been scoring as much late.
Yeah, well, he had game time
Of the
was
three,
he's
I
been
think
lacking.
he'd
Yeah.
actually fall down the ladder now behind
You think
Parrott
so?
and Ferguson, in my opinion.
In Ferguson
Yeah.
as well, you think?
Sorry, Rich?
Ferguson as well, you think he'd be behind on the pecking order?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know,
I think based on previous selection, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And we discussed before about like the kind of balance that Hamer has to have between, players who are in form at club level versus players who perform for Ireland. Evan Ferguson scored in the last window for Ireland, although he's only scored 1 goal this season. All in all, Adamida scored 14. And while like his minutes have kind of dropped off, we talked when Kyogo left Celtic that we wanted Adamida to really grab that starting centre forward job. He has and he hasn't, I suppose. Initially, he got off to a flyer. Lately, he's kind of been coming off the bench, but still scoring goals. Like the odd time he came on against Hibs, I think, in the cup.
Yeah, in the cup, and scored. Yeah.
A couple other times in the league. But like 14 goals this season, only behind Troy Parrott on 17.
18 now, I think.
18 maybe, yeah. I think at club level, Adamida is right up there along with Finn Azaz. And Steve, I know we talked about the squad, couple of disappointing exclusions. You talk about John Patrick Finn and Callum Robinson, but all in all, I would say it is a solid squad. And the issue that I would see is accommodating all these players who are in form into a starting 11, and who, as Paul says, who drops out to make way for other people. There is a couple of holes in the squad, I would say. Areas that we would kind of lacking, the wing positions like you talked about. Mikey Johnston probably the only recognised winner. I know Mark Sykes is playing there lately, but I don't know. I would be surprised if Mark Sykes got like thrown straight into the starting 11. I'm not going to ask you to like name your starting 11 right now because you're obviously, that's going to be a video. But this Bulgaria team, I'd be confident in us getting a win. At the same time, they've been on a decent run themselves. I know John O'Shea mentioned in the press conference that one outlier at the 5-0 loss in Northern Ireland, but they beat them in the home leg of that game and have been fairly solid. They've ton of draws. We were looking through their last couple of fixtures and ton of draws in there. They're really solid at the back, hard to break down.
They're drawing with teams that are like decent level and then drawing with teams that are like awful level.
So
it's so strange.
I wanted to ask you about that because they've seriously solid at the back. How do we go about that in terms of a squad selection standpoint in trying to break them down? Do we just put as many of our good players out on the pitch at once, or do we need to kind of look at this more tactically?
Well, me personally, I'd go 2 up top. I'd play Adam and Troy. And then I know you're saying about trying to accommodate these players that are in form. So then you kind of look at Finn Azaz. I'd play Finn off the left, and I'd have him kind of play an inverted role, float around in the middle. Let Robbie Brady play at left back, overlap him, and I think you've so much firepower there. Down the right side, I think Sykes is a great show. I really do. I really like Sykes. I know you're saying that maybe he's not going to be thrown in straight away, but either him or Johnson. Johnson can play off the right. So I'd kind of go that route. I'd go 2 up top.
The problem with that is it's similar to almost Smolix last year, where we're kind of shoehorning them in out in the wing. Talking about Finn Azaz here, he's been playing so well in the more central role for Middlesbrough this season. Would you do that just to get him in the squad?
No, I'd have him in the midfield. I'd have Mikey Johnston on the left. I think Mikey Johnston is the type of player that could break the lines. He's the type of player that can make something happen against a team set up to frustrate us. I think Mikey Johnston be the one that would probably be the one to unlock that.
He's so direct in his
play. He hasn't been the best at club level, but I think you mentioned it as well the other day, is that he's always turned up for Ireland. He's always added the trickery. He's always been a positive kind of player for Ireland. So I think Mikey Johnston has to be in the starting team, because I think he's going to be the one who's going to open them up. I think Azaz, from what I've seen, he's more kind of a better player in the central areas to get shots off, be involved in stuff. He's got the assists, he's got the goals to back that up. So I'd have him around centrally. I'd have Troy up top, as you know. I just think he has to start. I think it's madness if he doesn't, based on he's playing so regularly this season. If you're plucking Evan Ferguson to play up top and he has hardly played, it just doesn't make any sense. And you have a player who's playing every week. He's playing in the Europa League. He's scoring winning goals in the Europa League. I just don't get why he wouldn't be playing. And now whether you go 2 up top or you go with a 4-5-1, I don't know. I personally would go with a 4-5-1, which is like a 4-3-3, but when we're not in the ball, it's a 4-5-1.
It'd be interesting to see what way he goes, because you have both kind of laid out 2 very different
They're different, but they're similar. Like he picks same players, but just different.
Similar players, but different, very different setup in
I'm-
terms of.
Sorry, I'm just thinking if he plays two up top, Finn has to play. Like Finn Azaz has to be in this team. So I'm thinking of a way that Finn can be in the team with two up top, and I think coming off the left would be my way of doing it. Ideally for me,
Yeah, but that's because he would have a different formation to me in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It sounds like you would go like a 4-4-2.
yeah,
Well, this is it. In the last campaign, we got hammered by England. I know Liam Scales got sent off, and we had actually been doing quite well up until that point. But in that game, we played 5 across the middle. Nathan Collins actually went into midfield.
as a 6, yeah.
Yeah, played Mark McGuinness and Liam Scales at centre back. One up top in that game, it was Evan Ferguson. Whereas the Finland game that we played, we did play 2 up front. This is the Aviva game I'm talking about.
Yep.
Evan Ferguson and Sammy Smodics up front. So it is going to be quite a different look team in terms of personnel, but potentially shape as well.
Yeah, well, I just pulled up the squad there while you were talking, and like in terms of our forward players, if you're talking about wingers, I mean Rocco Vata, he could be someone you look at as being like maybe if Johnson starts because he's already seen him, and Rocco Vata comes maybe off the bench, he could be maybe then that player who makes a positive, influence. Maybe he'd come in and be a bit fearless, for the team. So I think he could be one to look at. Sinclair Armstrong, he's more seen now as a forward, but I think he could play in those wide positions as well. Strong, fast, athletic, and powerful. But I wouldn't see him getting in obviously ahead of the forwards that we like. The top 3 forwards are obviously Troy, Evan, and Adam. But I'd say Hamer would probably go with Evan Ferguson. I think he will. I don't agree with it, but
I think he will as well.
Me and Steve are only talking about this. Like,
Yeah.
we talk about Troy and Adam nearly every week here. And because we like such a focus on it, we think, just nailed down. They're obviously going to be in the starting 11. But Evan Ferguson is kind of, he's nailed down that starting position in the past. I wonder will that carry on into this game?
He seems to be a big fan of him. O'Shea especially, he said he was looking sharp in training in his press conference the other day. So he sees them in training when they train. So we don't. So but what I have seen is Troy is Azed's main man. He's the one that they depend on to lead from the front with the press, as Martin Martins said. Like, he is the one that organises the press and stuff like that. Like, there's a big expectation on him to do that, and I think he's grown into that role as the season's gone on. Whereas Evan Ferguson's just not playing. I'm not saying he's not good enough or anything like that. He's probably our best striker, but he needs to be playing. And I just don't agree with starting a fella who's not playing every week.
Over a guy that's scoring 18 goals and in a cup final. It's just...
Yeah, and look, I know people probably start calling us the Troy Parrott fan TV or whatever, but it's just because nobody's really making a big deal of the fact that we have a player doing well abroad and, in a Dutch Cup final, in the round of 16 of the Europa League, unlucky not to progress in that game. You know what I mean? He's a one-on-one away from maybe putting them ahead in the tie, So yeah, it's a tough one. Whether he goes with 2, then who does he leave out? That's going to be an interesting one as well.
I wouldn't rule out just going back to the winger position. Jason Knight maybe playing off the right. He's done that role in the past for Ireland.
And
Very
you've got
versatile
Jack Taylor in midfield.
Yeah, could do. You have got Josh Cullen's fairly nailed on. Will Smallbone is out now because groin injury, I think. Andy Moran brought into the squad.
Don't see him starting.
Can't really see him starting. Ryan Manning comes in for Callum O'Dowda. Can't really see him starting either, unless you ended up playing Robbie Brady on the left.
Yeah.
No, it's Robbie Brady's positions to lose there, that left back role.
Yeah.
Whether it's a left wing back or left back. I can't see him going with a 3-5-2, but I could be wrong. I mean, Jake, Nathan, and Dara would be a nice 3 to go with. And then you maybe have Matt Doherty on the right, and you've got Brady on the left. Then you've got your 2 up top, and maybe you've got 3 midfielders then as well. So that's another way of looking at it. It wouldn't be the way I would go, but I could see if you did go that way.
Yeah, we'll come back to the back 4 just briefly to finish up on Evan Ferguson. Like, I do think he is still, as you said, probably our most talented striker. He hasn't been in form over the last year. It's been difficult through injuries, lack of game time, really frustrating couple of months from. I still think there's a great player in there and wouldn't be surprised if he started. However, I know John O'Shea did mention how it is like a serious concern, his lack of game time and lack of form as well. I'd agree with you is that Troy Parrott and Adam Ida would be above him on the pecking, or well, I don't know.
Well,
Hopefully.
Well, I just if Evan Ferguson does come in and do well, and I hope I eat my words if that's the case. I'm not here like saying he's shit or anything like that because it's not the case. I'd be a big advocate of playing players that are in form. I've always been that way with the Irish team. But what I would say is, with Ferguson, if he does manage to do well, he it could be the kick on in the season that he may need.
Definitely. Going back to the real positive in this squad, I would say our backline and goalkeepers. Touched on Robbie Brady being a left back, performed really well, especially away in Finland, goal and assist in that game. Jake O'Brien's been in great form for Everton at right back. Collins and O'Shea playing brilliant for Ipswich. O'Shea is Nathan Collins, one of our most consistent performances in the Premier League. This is really probably the strong point of the squad, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, I cannot wait to see Jake O'Brien at right full, hoping he plays there. But then even Paul saying there that we could go to like a 3-5-2 type of thing. Like,
I can't really see it, to be honest. I think that's just such a solid.
I know, but
I wouldn't mess.
But there's options though. Do you know what I mean? It's exciting. Yeah. There's so many different ways you can put it.
Definitely.
And we have so many defenders that can play centrally and as fullbacks. Like you look at a Banquo who's coming into the squad, he can slot in at right back, he can slot in at centre half. Manning can play left back if he has to.
O'Shea can play.
He's played right back, yeah.
Fullback.
Jimmy Dunn has played right back and centre back this season.
Like such a versatile position for us, centre half and fullback. Like, you almost wish you kind of had that same blessing in midfield. But, I love the defence. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I kind of said it already. I think the thing about it is it gives you different options to go with. Like you can go to 3-5-2, you can go to back four, and then you can go 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, 4-5-1, or you can go 3-5-2 and have a kind of you have your two strikers in that sense, and you get people high and wide like maybe Matt Doherty and Robbie Brady who provide us with the width and maybe some quality, or Sykes at right wing back as well. So there is different options. I think it's in a way it's kind of good to not know what way we're going to set up.
Yeah,
I know that sounds strange to say, but I think the mystery of us not knowing how we might set up, the Bulgarians are probably the same. If they look at like, when was the last time we played? I think it was Greece or Finland. It wasn't England, was it?
Our last game was England, where we lost. Before that, we beat Finland at home.
Yeah, so like, well, if you take the England game into consideration, like we probably played very ultra defensive in that game. I felt. I don't think we're going to do that against Bulgaria. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's why I think there's going to be an element of, and there's different personnel in the squad now. I don't think Jack Taylor's played too much for us. So will he get an option? A chance in midfield.
But when he came on in Finland, he actually did do quite well, didn't he? Jack Taylor, I remember
I'd like to see him.
Made a big impact when he came on.
Yeah, I'd like to see him. I mean, in midfield, I think that's where the game's going to be won.
Yeah,
so we need to have our strongest midfield. So whatever way you look at it, I think our best midfield would be Knight, Cullen, and Azaz, but he might see it differently.
Yeah, that. In that system, we're playing three in midfield, playing against England away. We had Nathan Collins kind of playing that deep line role, and then Josh Cullen and Jason Malumbi just in front of them. Very defensive, as you said. I think this is a game that we really can go out and attack. Use those players, utilise the players that we have in form. Great creative attacking forwards and midfield players. This is a very solid Bulgaria team, but on paper we've a much better squad playing at much higher levels than they do. I know they have Ilya playing for Leeds. Most of their players are playing domestically. Would you be fearful coming into this, or are you quite confident?
Oh, I wouldn't be fearful at all. No, I'm confident as anything. I mean, if you look at Bulgaria's fixtures, a lot of them are draws. And like I said, it doesn't really matter the level of opponent. They're drawn with Gibraltar, and then they're drawn with like Poland, for example, a massive skill gap. So they're just a defensive team, and I think they're going to sit in and let us have the ball. And I think if you go for like a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-2 and you play all these creative players, fun players, I think it's going to be, I think it's ideal. The opponent that we're against, just sitting and letting us have the ball with all these players that can create so much opportunities, like Finn Azaz, Rocca-Vata, whether he comes off the bench or not. You have Micah Johnson, Brady, like all these players are going to have so much possession of the ball. So I like it. Yeah, I like the matchup.
I think it depends on the, you say we're going to have a lot of the possession. We need to make that possession count. I think if we get the first goal, then the Bulgarians have to come out and try and attack us, and I think that maybe when we can maybe exploit them. But history wouldn't suggest that that's what we'll do. We'll be frustrated and they'll score a goal from distance, is what history generally tells us.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case. Another interesting position, would be the goalkeeper. Does he go with Kelleher? Does he go with Bazunu? Does he go with Travers? That's going to be another interest. There's so much all around the pitch where you can't say someone is a nailed-on starter, other than maybe
Josh Cullen,
Nathan Collins, Josh Cullen, and Darragh O'Shea. I would probably say the three of them are the only three that I can think of that I could say will 100% start.
I'd have O'Brien in that as well.
I mean, he should, but he hasn't for Ireland yet. Been a mainstay, but we'll see. I think based on performances, him and Nathan Collins are probably our two best performing players in the Premier League. I'm saying, obviously, Troy would be overall, in terms of with goals and stuff.
In goal, it's the same dilemma nearly as
same
up
with
front.
Zaz as well. Sorry, you don't know if he's nailed on as well.
Yeah.
In goal, it's the same kind of dilemma that we have up front. Evan Ferguson, probably, as far as talent goes, probably our best striker. Kelleher, as far as talent goes, probably our best keeper. In terms of the level that he's played at, the important games he's played for Liverpool, hasn't been playing in the last couple of weeks and months. Bazunu has been playing. Mark Travers has been playing. Is that an area that you could see a change? I would be quite surprised if Kelleher wasn't in the starting 11 for this game.
I think Bazunu's proven that he's more than good enough, more than capable, and bails out a lot of times. He was more Stephen Kenny's man than he was, say, John O'Shea's, because John O'Shea opted for Kelleher. So I would go Bazunu, but I'm sure others, it's a flip of a coin. The only reason I go with Bazunu is because he's back playing and he's performing quite well. Travers is just so unlucky, but I don't think he's going to be the one that gets in, and it's no surprise that since he's gone in there, Middlesbrough's form's picked up.
Exactly, yeah. I'd personally, if it was an ideal world, I'd play Bazunu as well. I love Bazunu, but I mean, it's going to be Kelleher, isn't it? Yeah.
Rovers, mate.
But not even just the Rovers thing. I just think every time Bazunu's in an Ireland jersey, he plays great.
Travers is also ex-Rovers, isn't he?
Yeah.
The only thing is that he could say there about Bazunu is that he hasn't cost us any games, whereas Kelleher has.
Yeah,
not cost us a game, but he's made mistakes.
Yeah,
I just don't think he's going to drop Kelleher playing. And
I'm not. But the thing is, I'm confident at all three, so I don't care who goes in.
Yeah.
That's
the beauty of it, isn't it?
In a positive thing, But I also think you mentioned there about getting results. We beat these 3-0 with a squad now half as good as what we have now.
Yeah,
under Mick McCarthy.
I mean, Bulgaria lost, what was it, 5-0 to Northern Ireland?
Yeah.
Right? And then Northern Ireland lost 4-0 to Finland.
And we beat Finland.
There you go. There's a bit of maths for you.
Yeah, but football doesn't always have logic to it, unfortunately.
No, I'm only messing.
But you think Steve's mate, James Collins, was on the score sheet against Bulgaria last time we played them.
Yeah.
And Jack Byrne, he was involved.
Alan George.
So there was... I'm not saying that these players aren't good or anything like that, but I think we have a far better squad now than we had then under Mick. So I think that we should. Bulgaria probably have a lesser squad. I can't think of anyone who I go, they strike fear in me, or I'm really worried about them, or we should. Now we have the opposition preview later on, that might change, but as of right now, I'm not going into this going. Usually in an international team, you kind of look at someone and go, we have to keep him quiet or whatever. But you think of Finland, you have to keep Pukki quiet or something like that. You know what I mean? Even though he's not maybe to that level anymore, but you know what I mean. That's that type of thing. There's always kind of one player who you think you have to keep him quiet. I don't really feel that way with Bulgaria. I know you're talking about Ilya Leeds, but I just don't see it. Really.
Yeah,
I think we should have enough strength in our squad to handle anything they give us.
Definitely.
Our squad is at least playing at a much higher level than it was back then.
Yeah.
In terms of the leagues we're playing in, the caliber of club that they're in. Hamer, it's been a mixed bag so far, I would say. A couple of positive results against Finland. Not great games against Greece or England. Although this is, the Nations League, it is a relegation playoff. If we lose this tie, then we get relegated out of League B. We win, we stay in League B. Mightn't seem like the most high stakes game, but in terms of if we do lose this, there would be quite a bad feeling around the squad, especially coming off the high feeling that we have talking about Finn Azaz and Troy Parrott and Adamida, all these good players, Nathan Collins and Darragh O'Shea at the back. there is quite a bit of pressure on this, going out and getting an actual result here.
In what sense? The 2 games or just this game?
Well, that if we lose this tie,
We
certainly
won't lose this time. I know nothing's guaranteed, but we won't lose.
sounds like you're guaranteeing it.
Well, that's the confidence you want to have in our squad.
I don't think it's the end of the world if we do lose it, but I don't think we lose it. Genuinely, I'm not being arrogant there. I just don't think we're going to lose.
Same level of confidence, Steve?
100%. Yeah. And look, I get what you're saying. If we go out and lose tomorrow, and then all of a sudden the hype is gone. But
yeah, but we can rectify it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't even if we go tomorrow and don't get a result, I'd still be confident with putting them away in Ireland.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if this ends up being a draw tomorrow, just because the their recent fixtures at home against decent Cara. You mentioned it a little bit. Romania and Hungary. They beat Northern Ireland out there. Pretty decent results for them. They haven't had the same look, I'd say, on the road, but very difficult team to break down. And although we do have quite a lot of attacking talent, this isn't going to be an easy game at all.
No, it's not going to be an easy game, but we have the players, like I said, the creativity in the team that we can break down a team like Bulgaria. So
we also don't need to break them down. We can also beat them from set pieces. Like think of the Robbie Brady, Liam Scales,
O'Brien
combination. Yeah, and he'll fancy every dead ball. Robbie Brady to Jake O'Brien if he's playing. I think that's where we'll beat them. Is those set pieces. It's so funny when you talk about kind of Stephen Kenny and him trying to play all this nice football, but yeah, most of our goals are scored in those types of crosses, headers, not this like fancy football in behind, tiki taka or whatever. I think I'd be more worried if Stephen Kenny was the manager in this game. And it might be a bold statement, but I think Hamer's proven that he's gotten results against teams that we should, like Finland. I think Greece are better than us, and I understand why we lost against them. But I don't think we're far away from Greece in terms of the level, but I think Greece were just further along in their kind of development than we were. Whereas I think, we showed against Finland that we had to go and win that, and we went and got the result. And the only real chance that I can think of that Finland had was the goal that Nathan Collins gifted them. Other than that, we were the better team overall. I know there was a period when they brought on subs in the away leg and they looked a bit like they were kind of getting on top, but then we made the subs and we were right back on top again. But I think I think Hamer's brought in a kind of level of calmness and confidence, but he also is not afraid to kind of tell people how things are at times. I know sometimes it gets misconstrued, like the Stephen Bradley stuff, but other things he's came out and just kind of called out players. So maybe the jersey's too big for them and stuff like that. They're big statements to make, but I like that he's been bold enough to come out and say them publicly.
I think it's under Hamer. It's definitely a team that's more a stronger team, a team that's more streetwise when they're coming up against lesser opposition than we were in the Kenny days. Hopefully that does mean that we win the games that we're supposed to win. It's also easy to forget that we did play quite well in Wembley in the first half.
Yeah.
We did end up getting hammered, and that's ultimately what we're going to remember from that game. But in the first half, up until Liam Scales' red card, it was a really solid defensive performance. I'm hoping for something a little bit different against Bulgaria. Hopefully we can show what we're made of going forward. As you said, the towers at the back that we have coming forward for Robbie Brady set pieces, Finn Azaz, that's definitely an area where I think we can thrive off. I suppose finally, your predictions for this game. What are we thinking?
Do you want to go ahead first?
2-0 to us.
Goal score?
Depends. Yeah, sorry, I'm just thinking it depends on who he goes for. Jake O'Brien and
Yes.
Troy.
I'll go 2-0 as well. That's what I had in my head. I think Troy scores. I think Finn contributes in a goal, whether it's assisting Troy or scoring. I think it'll be a comfortable win. I really do. I mean, I'm not getting ahead of myself here. I know that Bulgaria can come out and give us problems. Like any team can. Any team can give any team problems, but I'm confident in the squad. And hopefully he starts the right 11 in my mind. Hopefully Troy is up there. And yeah, I think we beat them.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I wouldn't say it's going to be comfortable. I would say, like you said, if we get the starting 11 right, we can and will go out and win this game. I'm going to go with 1-0. Just I don't think Bulgaria shipped that many goals at home, so I'm going to go 1-0 and Troy Parrott goal. Parrott
3 clean sheets.
Yeah.
3 Parrott goals.
Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Repeat it there like a parrot.
You mad Parrott.
What did you say? Sorry.
Sorry, go on.
No final thoughts. Just come on, you boys in green.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing a live watch along as well for anyone who wants to watch along with us. We'll be doing a watch along probably from around 7ish tomorrow evening. So come along, get your comments in. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We're very close to 17,000, so we'll hope to hit that mark tomorrow. And yeah, come on, you boys in green. Take it away there, Tom. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah.
That's it. Hoping for a win, and we'll see you all tomorrow.